What is going on? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are on episode 30. It may not be a big thing, I know some people probably look at 20, then 50 and more, but every time we hit the century mark, like we're going to celebrate it. So we are on episode 30 of Breakthrough Blueprints podcast. And this episode, I want to talk about we're going to talk about, like the movie Hustle and Flow, right? We're going to talk about focus and flow. And it's a few quotes that I'm going to highlight where what they usually say, mind over matter and nothing else matter, or what you focus on expands, where your focus goes, your energy flows, so forth and so forth. And that's kind of like what I want to touch on, because what usually happens is that it can go one or two ways. What we focus on expands, right? What we focus on, good or bad, we end up expanding on that. And I think that's one of the things that we have to remember as we're going through life. And that is business or profession, business or personal, where what you focus on, that's what usually comes about. Like when you focus on problems, when you focus on things of that nature, stuff usually pops up. Like, let's just think about it, right? I know I'm not the only one that thought myself sick before, where, especially during the whole pandemic situation, where I would call for something like that, and I'm like, oh damn, I got COVID, I got Rona, I'm gonna die, like whatever the case may be, where we thought ourselves that. And what usually happens is, and you heard me say this before, where our subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or what's fake. So what we continue to focus on, what we continue to give our energy to, that's what usually comes from it. And we got to remember that. So we got to focus on the positive things. So I got a few points that I want to highlight for you all, that when I was thinking about this episode and I was just writing stuff down, brain dumping. Remember, that's one of the things that I always talk to you all about. It's like brain dump everything, whatever thoughts you have in your mind, whatever you have going on, just start brain dumping it. So I brain dumped a few things, and I got a few key points that I want us to hit on, that for you all that's listening, like these could be some things that can help you focus on what you need to focus on. Again, looking at the positive and not the negative, because that's what we end up holding on to. So the first thing is energy flows attention, right? Everything you give energy to, good or bad, grows. Like you said, whatever you give that energy to, it grows. On a few episodes ago, I talked about the whole thing of creating anxiety for ourselves because we're constantly thinking about what if this happened, what if that happened. Where, yes, we always want to be prepared, but there's a difference between being prepared and us manifesting those things that we're concerned about. Because if for people that's big on manifestation and affirmations, you can see that when you do it for the positive things, when you do it for the right things, it starts coming true, right? Now just look at it on the other side of that, where you are manifesting bullshit to go wrong. You are constantly thinking about what could happen, what may happen, and your energy starts going there because that's what you're focusing on. And we have to remember that we cannot focus on that. Okay. And one thing that I want to talk about is, it's funny, well, just a quote of, you can't focus on the breakthrough and the breakdown at the same time. Say that again. You can't focus on the breakthrough and the breakdown at the same time. You have to give your energy and focus to one of them. So why not give your energy and focus to the positive side of things, to the breakthrough? That way, you are pushing yourself forward. Because again, this let's look at what usually happens when you are focusing on the breakdown or the breakthrough. So let's start with the breakdown. When you're focusing on the breakdown, you're putting yourself into a mindset where you're creating extra anxiety for yourself. You're creating extra depression. You're creating these things for yourself because you are thinking about, hey, this situation will go wrong. This situation will happen. And then you're constantly thinking about that. You're thinking and thinking, and then that's where your energy starts going. So now you're not in a good mood. So now you are feeling a certain type of way because you're constantly thinking about the negative things that could potentially happen. And 9 times out of 10, that thing probably won't happen, but you're giving your energy to it so much that you thinking it to come true. Right. So perfect example for me, and people laugh when I say this when people always ask, hey, will you, skydive or bungee jump? And I say, you know what? At this point in my life, I would do neither because I always put negative thoughts around those things that now I can't even do it because of that negative energy I always put in the air about those things. I would not even try it because of the energy I put out there. Now, if I put positive energy, like my hat say, stay positive and fuck. If I would have constantly put positive energy out there for that, I would have been in a different mindset where I probably would have been done it by now. Bungee jumped and skydive. I would have been done it, and I focused on the breakdown and not the breakthrough. I constantly thought about what could go wrong, what will go wrong. That now I'm at the point where I would not even try it because of that negative energy I put out there. So again, you can't focus on the breakthrough and the breakdown at the same time, right? There's going to be a break no matter what. So why not focus on the breakthrough and not the breakdown? It's the whole thing about like success is hard and failure is hard. Well, no, not success is hard, failure hard, but being rich is hard and being broke is hard. Choose your hard, right? You have to choose to think positive. You have to choose to think, put your focus on that because that's where your energy is going to go, right? And then the next part of that is mind over matter. Our mental discipline determines our outcome more than the circumstances. The circumstances don't change, right? It is our discipline, is our perception, it is our determination to get through those situations. Perfect example, if you think about it, you're I'm in Chicago, so we deal with so much traffic. I mean, because of construction, and they always wait to the most worst time to do construction. But here we go. So they get construction. I can't do nothing about that construction. I cannot control. I can't say, hey, you know what? Stop doing construction because I need to get through at a faster pace. I can't do nothing about the situation, but I can have the mental discipline that say, hey, that's the situation. I'm gonna still be happy. I'm gonna listen to a podcast. I'm gonna listen to motivational things. I'm gonna call somebody and do gratitude calls. I'm going to just listen to my favorite song. I am not going to let that situation or circumstances determine how I feel. I'm going to use mind over matter. I can't change that. There's nothing I can do about that. I am going to focus on keeping a positive mindset as I'm going through that. Right. Here's another part that I wrote down that I really want you all to focus on. When life gets heavy, the strongest tool you have is your focus. We always talked about what can go wrong, will go wrong. We always talked about that. Hey, situations and circumstances will happen, but it's how we focus. It's what we focus on. Last podcast, I think it was, no, the podcast before that, where I talked about, hey, listen, you, there's some things you can't change. There's some things that you do not personally have control over. But what you do have control over is your focus, how you show up, and how you're going to continue to go live your life. So we got to remember that. That's that mind over matter. Right. Now, I want to ask you this. So, how do you handle distractions, negative thoughts, and outside noise? What are some things that you can do to handle distractions, negative thoughts, and outside noise? Outside noise, I feel like it's the easiest thing, quote unquote, to handle. It's just like, just cut this shit off. Do it out of your circle. And we talked about this before. Are the people in your circle people that promotes positivity, prosperity, growth, celebration of accomplishments. If not, that's the way you cut out the outside noise. Limiting what you're getting from social media. We already know that it's no matter how we try to control the algorithm on things, they're still going to push BS in, right? So we have to focus on combating that and constantly putting positive things on, following positive people, following pages that post motivational quotes on a daily basis. That is a way to cut out the outside noise. Negative thoughts, that's one of the things that we really we can't control our first thought, but we can control our second, right? We all have that negative thought that pops in our mind. What we control and how we combat that is, what is our follow-up thought, and how do we personally react to that? I was talking to my coach just last week, and I was talking about situations, and I'm like, damn, everything that can go wrong is going wrong, and I'm like, nothing is going right. And she said, okay, I want you to pause for a minute. You said everything that can go wrong is going wrong, and nothing is going right. She said, is that what you just said? I said, yes. She said, can you honestly sit back and say nothing is going right? So my first thought, the negative thought, was like, nothing is going right, everything is going wrong. And then my coach, I'm like, okay, that was your first thought, perfect. But now sit back and truly look at it and say, is that a true statement that nothing is going right? And then when I took a step back, changed my mindset and say, you know what, you're 100% correct. I cannot sit here and honestly say nothing is going right, everything is going wrong, because that's not the case. Especially when you're coming from a place of gratitude and thinking like, man, I get to see my family. I get to see the people I love. I get to talk to the people I love. I have a roof over my head, clothes on my back. I'm able to get back and forth wherever I want to go. I can eat whatever I want to eat. A lot of those things that we tend to take for granted, but those are real powerful things that when we do get into that negative mindset, that we have to look at that and say, hey, I have a lot to be grateful for. And yes, I can't control that first negative thought, but I can control the second thought, and I can control the reactions to that. So what I'll say to you is, what are some things you can put in place that when you have that negative thought, that you can just call yourself out and say, nope, no, we're not doing that. Nope, that is not true. Here's the facts. We always got to look at facts, right? So we have to stop ourselves. First thought, we have that, perfect. Boom, we move on and say, nope, that's not it. We go to the second thought. And then the other part is handling distractions. That is another hard one because, again, distractions can come in different forms. It can come from people, it can come from places, it can come from things where you know you're on your way to go somewhere, or you got something, a busy week, busy day, and you end up getting a flat tire. That's a distraction. How are you going to handle that, right? Or you have a busy week, you're trying to get things done, and then you have certain people call your phone, or you see certain people that are not the most positive people. Remember that outside noise that we talked about, these people can be a part of that, where they can cause distraction for you. So how are you going to combat that? What are the things you're going to do to be able to say, you know what, not I'm not dealing with these distractions, I'm focused on this right now, and these are the things that I really have to do to make sure I stay on track. Okay. And then the next part of that is focus is skill. Most people don't lose because they aren't talented. They lose because they're scattered. That's the truth. Most people don't lose because they aren't talented. They lose because they're scattered. What's that other quote that says, hard work beats talent when talent don't work? Something like that. You all know what I'm saying, right? There's a lot of people in the NBA and the NFL that are not the most talented person, but they work so hard, right? There's people that are successful in other industries and other fields, not because they're the best at it, because they are consistent, they are focused, they're purposeful. Remember we talked about before, going from entrepreneur to purposeful, going from E to P. where they are purposeful about what it is that they're doing. They're not scattered. They know what they need to do. That can be for fitness, that can be for your business, that could be for your family. Being purposeful about spending time with your family, being purposeful about tucking your kids in, reading bedtime stories, just sitting there with them, like being purposeful about what it is you're doing. And then here's some strategies for that. So, first, we have daily focus check in. So, every day in the morning, you wake up. Remember, we talked about when we wake up. If you're a person of faith, you're praying, you're meditating, you're journaling. And then it's like, okay, what is my focus on today? And what is the things that I need to focus on? You get to the middle of the day, do a focus check-in. Okay, am I still focused on the task? Am I still focused on what's important? At the end of the day, you do a recap. Did I stay focused on a task? Did I stay focused on what I'm supposed to do? Second part of that is limiting distractions. Whatever you can do, however you can do it, we must limit distractions. We have to limit those things. And distractions, remember we just said distractions come in all shape and forms, right? It Everything can be a distraction. We have to make sure we limit that. We have to play that game to not get distracted on certain things. And then we have to reframe negative energy into drive. I can say one of the things that I am proud about myself for is that maybe I do get to a point where I let negative things affect me too much. And I do use that negative things to drive me. That is a gift and a curse, right? If you don't have those negative things, you kind of take your foot off the gas because negative things drive you. And for some people, we have to figure out a way how we can use these things to drive us forward. How can we use that negativity to keep us going, to keep us moving, and just keep going. Use it to fuel you. Like always say, the Michael Jordan syndrome, simplex complex. Like what using that negative to keep you going. So I want you to ask yourself this: where are you letting small distractions steal big energy? Right? Where are you letting those small distractions steal big energy? Start paying attention to that. Again, what we focus on expands. What we focus on, we get a clear view on. So when we're focusing on, okay, what are some of these things that are causing me to lose energy? That's taking that joy away. That's taking that passion away. And then we got to start highlighting that, and we got to work towards that. Right. The next is the compound of focus. Here's what they say: the more consistent your focus, the more momentum you build. The more consistent your focus, the more momentum you build. Sometimes, and I talked to a few people about this, and we use the term lock in. I'm not gonna lie. I love the term lock in. Like, okay, we got to lock in, but that's it. The more consistent your focus, the more momentum you build. So that's the whole lock in. Like, I'm blocking all of this out. Remember, we're in Q4. We talked about that on the Q4 episode of locking in. This is what I'm focusing on. I need to build that momentum going into 2026 and Q1. Focus creates flow. Flow creates momentum. Momentum creates success. Focus create flow. Focus create flow. Flow creates momentum. Momentum creates success. Focus, flow, momentum. Focus, flow, momentum. Focus, flow, momentum. Right? If we have that focus, now we start flowing. We're in the flow state. We're moving. Then you create that momentum. So it's that creating that consistency, that discipline that creates that habits. That's pretty much what we're saying. Create that consistency, create that discipline, create the habits, and you have success. Okay. We have to remember that. So here's the challenge to you all. What are you focusing on right now that does not deserve your energy? And this is one of the things that I'm talking to you all as I'm talking to myself. What are you focusing on right now that doesn't deserve your energy? And if your focus creates your future, what future are you building today? If your focus creates your future, what future are you building today? That right there is a that was a question that, when I was prepping for this, it hit me hard. Like, damn, What future am I creating with the bullshit that I'm focusing on? Like that is a question that hits you hard. So again, what are you focusing on right now that doesn't deserve your energy? And two, if your focus creates your future, what future are you building today? What future are you building today with what you're currently focusing on? Right. So again, we got to make sure mind over matter, nothing else matter. What you focus on expands. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And that can be positive and negative. We want to be on more on the positive side, right? So again, let's focus on keeping our mindset strong. Let's focus on having these breakthroughs. We know situations come up, we know things happen, but it's our job to keep moving forward and think about the positive side of things and not think things into existence that we don't want to happen. Let's think the things that we do want to happen. All right. Focus on the positive, put our energy where we want it to go, and think about what future we are creating right now with the things we're focusing on. So again, this is your boy, Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman. Thank you for checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast, where we help you tap into your full potential. Episode 30 right here, right now, dropping. See you all next week. Peace.